So, we all know that the Sony ZV-E1 is a better camera than the ZV-E10. It has better image quality, battery life, autofocus performance, rolling shutter performance, and many other features. But is it worth the extra $1,500 over the ZV-E10? I am not sure, but in this video, I'll do everything I can to help you decide which of these two cameras you should get. Both of these cameras have a fairly similar compact design with an off-fall grip. However, the ZV-E10 is slightly lighter and smaller. It weighs 343 grams compared to 483 grams for the ZV-E1. This is to be expected given that the ZV-E10 is an APS-C camera. However, I don't think the ZV-E1 is significantly bigger or heavier. It's one of the smallest full-frame cameras on the market, and it excels in pretty much every other aspect compared to the ZV-E10's design. It's weather resistant, has a higher and more premium build quality, and uses a larger FZ100 battery rather than the small FW50 battery. The ZV-E1 also has an additional programmable button and a significantly higher display quality than the ZV-E10. The extra customizable button is not a big deal, at least for me. I only use the basic settings, and the amount of customizable buttons on the ZV-E10 is more than enough for what I do. However, the display quality difference between these cameras is quite noticeable. The ZV-E10's display looks completely different from what I see with my eyes. Most of the time, everything looks overexposed with washed out colors, even when setting the white balance correctly. But as soon as I bring the footage to the computer, everything looks normal. This always makes me think that I take bad photos or videos, but it's just the poor display quality on the ZV-E10. I'm already used to it because I've been using this camera for about 2 years, but it's definitely a major downside, especially if you're going to use just display, the built-in display, to judge exposure and if the colors are accurate. Moving on, both cameras have the same USB-C, micro HDMI, headphone and microphone ports, a single SD card slot, a flippy screen to see yourself when vlogging, and a button to switch between photo, video and S&Q modes. However, I prefer the ZV-E1's SD card slot location. It's located on the left side of the camera as opposed to inside the battery compartment on the ZV-E10, and I also prefer the sliding mode switch on the ZV-E1 as opposed to having a single button that's basically looping the photo, video and S&Q modes. The ZV-E1 uses a new, more organized menu system as opposed to the old and unorganized one on the ZV-E10. The ZV-E1 is also faster overall thanks to its enhanced processor. It turns on and off faster, and navigating through the menus is more responsive. It also has some cool features such as the ability to import costume LUTs, framing stabilizer which crops in and keeps you in the center of the frame, similar to center stage on Apple devices, cinematic vlog which adds a letterbox effect with filmic color presets, full touchscreen control, and some separation between video and photo settings. To be honest, most of these features are a gimmick. I only really like having the ability to split some of the photo video settings, to use costume LUTs, and to use clear image zoom, which the ZV-E10 also has, but without autofocus. However, one thing I like about the ZV-E1 is the cleaner audio preamps compared to the ZV-E10, which will reduce background noises when an external microphone is connected and offer cleaner audio. This is how the Deity VMic D4 microphone sounds like with the Sony ZV-E1. I set the gain to, let me see, 16 plus I guess, and of course, I'm not going to edit the audio in any way in post-production. And now I'm recording with the ZV-E10 and the Deity VMic D4, and I've set the gain to 15, so pretty much the same as on the ZV-E1, but from my experience, the preamps on the ZV-E1 are much cleaner than on this camera. And also, do you know how to set the audio gain on Sony cameras to automatic? If so, let me know down below, because I've been looking in the menu system and I couldn't find the option to set the audio to automatic. And yeah, so I think the preamps on the ZV-E1 are much cleaner than on this camera. This is definitely where the ZV-E1 shines. First of all, it has IBIS, whereas the ZV-E10 does not. It also has active stabilization with less crop than the ZV-E10, as well as dynamic stabilization, which is a step above active stabilization. However, I shot a bunch of videos with the ZV-E10's active stabilization, which works very well, but it does crop by 1.5 times, which can be a major downside, especially if you plan to use this camera for vlogging. I think if you're going to use the ZV-E10 mainly on a tripod, this is not going to be a big issue for you. However, if you plan to shoot mostly handheld, then maybe this is not the best camera for you, or you could think about investing in a gimbal and completely stop using digital stabilization. Both cameras have fantastic, reliable autofocus performance with eye and touch tracking. I never had a single issues with either, but the ZV-E1 offers a bit more features such as breathing compensation, which eliminates focus breathing on Sony lenses, the ability to change the tracking subject to animals, insects, cars, airplanes, or having the option for the camera to track your body rather than your eyes. Honestly, I don't think I'll be disappointed with either. Both cameras are very fast and reliable when it comes to autofocus. In my opinion, both cameras offer fantastic image quality for their price. The ZV-E1 stands out with features like 4K 60, 4K 120, 10-bit video, high bitrate options, a wide dynamic range, and phenomenal low light performance. On the other hand, the ZV-E10 only shoots up to 4K 30p in 8-bit. However, it still delivers sharp footage with a decent amount of dynamic range. It does have some cons, such as very poor rolling shutter performance, which is one of its biggest flaws, but the overall image quality for $700 is fantastic. Of course, the ZV-E1 has superior image quality in every single way, but keep in mind that it costs 3 times more than the ZV-E10, and is the image quality 3 times better? I don't really think so. Regardless, here are some comparison clips for you to decide. This is how the built-in microphones sound like on the Sony ZV-E10 without any post-production editing. Test, 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 1, 2, 3, test. And this is how the built-in microphones sound like on the Sony ZV-E1. You have a bit more customization on this camera. You can choose either the front microphone, the back one, or all of them at the same time. And honestly, I don't know if it sounds better than on the ZV-E10. You let me know down below, but yeah, this is how it sounds like without any editing in post-production and so on. Now let's get into overheating, the subject that everybody likes to talk about on YouTube, especially with the ZV-E1. I've been using the ZV-E10 and ZV-E1 since their release, and they have never ever overheated on me in real life scenarios. I use these cameras to film YouTube and social media content, which is what they are designed for, and I don't have any issues. Regardless, I'm sure you would like to see how long these cameras can record before overheating. So here are the results I got in my studio in a room temperature of around 31-32 degrees Celsius. Starting with 4K 25p, the ZV-E10 managed to record for 53 minutes and 33 seconds before shutting down from overheating, while the ZV-E1 managed to record for 31 minutes and 25 seconds before shutting down from overheating. Then I did some slow motion recording tests with the ZV-E1, which lasted 23 minutes and 33 seconds in 4K 50p and 13 minutes and 25 seconds in 4K 100p, until the camera shut down from overheating. I usually shoot in the highest quality possible and shoot A-roll for no more than 40 minutes, then do a burst of B-roll clips lasting no more than 2-3 minutes each with no overheating issues with either camera. If you want to do more demanding professional work, especially with the ZV-E1, you can buy a tiny fan from AliExpress, attach it to the back of the camera and open all the port doors to dissipate heat faster. If you're interested in the mini fan, I will include a link down below. To summarize, both cameras are great and each has its pros and cons. The ZV-E1 is a powerhouse of a YouTube camera that is best suited for pro YouTubers that know how to use a camera and want fantastic image quality, autofocus performance, ease of use, full frame sensor, all in a very compact form factor. Whereas the ZV-E10 is best suited for beginners or pro content creators that want a decent amount big camera like myself. If I was an absolute beginner, I would definitely avoid buying the ZV-E1 and just buy the ZV-E10. Use that for about a year, learn how to use the proper settings, maybe buy some good lenses and lighting, and then once I know how to use the camera, I will think about upgrading, because what's the point of paying $2,200 for the ZV-E1 when you don't really know how to use the basic camera settings? Don't get me wrong, the ZV-E1 is a better camera in every way, which is why I use it as my main YouTube camera. But just because it has higher specs doesn't mean it's going to be better for you. I think for the majority of people, the ZV-E10 is going to be the best option. I would only buy the ZV-E1 if I was making money from YouTube or whatever I'm doing with my camera, or maybe if you really need 4K 60, 4K 120, less crop and stabilization, and of course the better rolling shutter performance. Honestly, I can make all of my videos with the ZV-E10 and most of you probably won't notice, but I am a camera geek and I love the superior image quality of the ZV-E1 and the 4K 60, 120, better rolling shutter performance and all this stuff. Anyhow, if you have any questions about these cameras or whatever, let me know down below, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, peace out, bye bye, peace.